Welcome back to my channel. And if this is your first time here, I hope by the end of this video that you'll become a subscriber. So let's just get into this conversation. You didn't know you were being studied. They weren't celebrating your faith, they were testing it. Some people will cheer for you only to measure the sound of your fall. They call it support, but it's really surveillance. You shared your dreams with them, and every time you spoke about what you believed in, they exchanged glances, not out of admiration, but mockery. They smiled in your face because it cost them nothing. But in the dark, behind your back, your name became their entertainment. And you kept showing love because you believed love could melt envy. But envy doesn't melt, it hides. It hides behind compliments. It hides behind, I'm just checking on you. It hides behind the word friend. The moment came when everything you trusted fell apart. Your phone got quiet. The people who said they'd pray for you disappeared. And the ones who once believed in you now look at you like a lesson, not a legacy. That's when you learned. Sometimes God lets the crowd shrink so you can hear who was clapping from conviction and who was clapping for convenience. They thought breaking you would expose weakness, but all it did was reveal who you were, that you who was real, right? Because betrayal isn't about losing people. It's about learning who was never standing with you in the first place. They watched you struggle and they whispered behind your back, let's see how long she keeps or he keeps that faith now. But faith doesn't fade when the applause stops, it deepens. It starts talking to God in ways it never had to before. You became a private joke in rooms you helped light up. They mocked your belief, they mocked your process, they mocked your relationship, and even your peace made them uncomfortable. Some people can't handle a soul that still believes after being broken because it convicts them. It reminds them of the faith they lost, of the prayers they quit on, of the strength they traded for validation. They don't hate you because you failed. They hate that you didn't stay there. Your comeback is their discomfort. Your silence became louder than their gossip. And even though you never heard the laughter, your spirit did. That's why some rooms started feeling heavy. That's why your body felt tired around certain people because your spirit was standing in the presence of betrayal. And that is a very heavy energy. And you were still trying to stay kind. In the silence, you started questioning everything. You said, God, did you see what they did? And heaven said, yes. And I let them because the silence wasn't punishment. It was protection. It was training. It was heaven removing counterfeit hands from around your destiny. You needed to learn the difference between closeness and access. Just because they sit near you doesn't mean they carry your heart. Just because they say amen doesn't mean they believe what you do. That's when faith stopped being a feeling and became your lifeline. You stopped needing confirmation. You stopped begging for understanding. And you realized the silence was where your beliefs started breathing again. What they call broken was actually your becoming. You were being rebuilt quietly, cell by cell, though thought by thought. Every disappointment turned into discipline. Every tear rewired your strength. Faith isn't loud, it's steady. It's what rises when everything else leaves. They thought you collapsed. Instead, you evolved. You learned how to walk through fire without turning bitter. Because true belief doesn't beg for proof, it moves through pain like it already knows the outcome. And that's what shook them. That even after betrayal, even after being mocked, you still smiled like someone who knew how the story ends. You were never being tested by God alone. You were being tested by people who didn't understand your assignment. They didn't know who you were. They thought breaking you would make you doubt yourself. They thought breaking you would prevent others from seeing how beautiful you are, how kind you are. They're trying to make you look bad, but instead it made you depend on your faith. You learned who was loyal in your calling and who was loyal to your comfort. You learned that not everyone who listens to your dreams plans to see them come true. And you realize sometimes God lets the betrayal go public so your vindication will be undeniable. They broke you to measure your belief. But that moment they laughed was the moment heaven started recording. Every tear was evidence, every prayer was documentation. And when God restores you, He'll make sure they watch, not to humiliate them, but to show what belief under pressure produces. Now you walk different. Now you don't explain as much. You don't seek validation anymore because belief after betrayal carries a sound. And that sound says, I've seen fake love and survived it. I've seen silence and compliance and complicitness and didn't lose my song. I've seen mockery where I was the joke and kept my peace. That's the kind of faith you can't fake. That's the kind of faith that shakes rooms because it's not performance anymore, it's presence. They broke you just to see if you'd still believe, and you did. You believed in the dark. You believed when they laughed. You believed when no one clapped. And because of that, you're about to rise in a way that makes even your pain bow in respect. Stay covered, stay conscious, stay undefeated. See you in the next one.